Hi guys, this is Nico and I will be teaching you the basics of Adobe Illustrator. I made this call illustration in vector and raster graphic, so that I can explain to you the difference between Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop. On the right we have the raster graphic, which is made with Photoshop. Let's scale it and see what will happen. As we scale it, the image is losing quality. And if we zoom in, we will see that the raster graphic is made with pixels or bitmaps. As for the vector illustration, no matter how much we scale it or zoom in, it does not lose any quality. It just stays crystal clear. With the freedom of scaling in Adobe Illustrator, we can start a document in a lower resolution, so the file size can be smaller. And for Photoshop, we must open a high resolution document, so this way the file will be a lot larger. If you are working on a logo design, I highly recommend using Adobe Illustrator. Because a logo can get scaled a lot, it can be used for buildings or billboards. Since now you know the difference between vector and raster graphics, let's launch Adobe Illustrator and get into the basics. Create a new file. On the top tabs, you can find all kinds of different formats. And I will select print, then create a custom format. Here we can name the project. Let's set the artboard size 1200 to 700 points. And hit create. So this is the Adobe Illustrator interface. On the right you will find palettes that Illustrator gives you, but we do not need them. While we work on this tutorial, we will create our own flexible workspace. So just click and drag on the top of the palettes and you will see an X. Just click on it to close them. And on the left you should see a toolbar. If you do not see it, go to Windows, Tools and choose Default. Before we start with the basics, there are two things we need to do. First, go to View and make sure the Smart Guide is selected. No matter if you're beginner or pro, this guide will help you a lot. The second thing we need to do is putting controls on top of the interface, so we can work faster. Go to Windows and select Controls. Then click on the icon on the end of the bar and make sure everything is selected. Okay, so let's create our first vector shape. Go to the rectangle tool on the toolbar. If you hold left click, an option from different shape will appear. But we will pick the rectangle anyway. If you click once into the artboard, an option will show up, where you can put numbers so you can draw the shape you're looking for. But I find it boring, so I will hit cancel and press and hold with the left click and draw with the mouse movement. Before releasing the left click, I want you to click and hold shift so you can create that perfect square shape. To zoom in, you will need to hold Alt and scroll with the mouse wheel forward. And to zoom out, scroll backward. To move and set the artboard position, press and hold the space button, then left click and move it with the mouse. If you like to move the object, we must choose the selection tool, or press the shortcut V on the keyboard. Now click and hold on the square so you can move it around. If you like to move it in a straight line, you have to hold shift. You can also move it with the arrow keys on the keyboard. And if you like to unselect the object, you must click on the empty artboard. Now let's put the object into the center of the artboard. Make sure the object is selected. Then click on the Align icon on the control bar and change it from Align to Selection to Align to Artboard. Then 6 icons will appear. The first 3 are horizontal alignment and the other 3 are vertical alignment. Now click on the horizontal align center and then on the vertical align center. Now guys, I will show you how to rotate, transform or scale the object. With the selection tool selected, we can proceed with the transformation. If you notice, when I go to the end of the object, a curved arrow will appear, which means we can rotate the object. But if we go into the middle of the line, an up and down arrow will appear, which means with this option we can transform or scale it. Now hit Ctrl+Z to undo and get back to the square shape. If you undo too far by mistake, you can hit Ctrl+Shift+Z so you can redo. Now let's scale the object size with keeping the original form. To be able to do that, you must hold Shift while scale it. And if you hold Shift+Out, you will scale it into the center. We can also use the direct selection tool to transform the object. You can find this tool next to the selection tool, or you can use the shortcut A on the keyboard. If you notice, when I select the square with the direct selection tool, there are 4 anchor points on each corner. This is how the vector graphic works. It just connects anchor points to each other. With the direct selection tool, we can grab specific anchor points and drag it around. Hit Ctrl+Z to get back to the square shape. Make sure the shape is selected, and I will show you how to change or remove the color. On the bottom left of the toolbar, you will find 2 big squares and 3 small ones. The 2 big squares represent the fill and the stroke of the object. At the moment, the fill is solid white and the stroke is solid black. To change the color, you will need to click twice on the fill box and choose a color you want. Or you can add a color from the swatches. To find the swatch bar, go to Windows and select Swatches. Remove the other bars who are in the swatches so we can keep a clean workspace. Now let's put the swatch bar on the right corner, so we can start building our workspace. To change it from solid to a gradient, you need to click on the second box. Then a gradient bar should show up. If it does not show up, just go to Windows and choose Gradient. Set the gradient bar on the top of the swatches. To apply color into the gradient, we can drag a color from the swatches into the gradient bars. To do a manual color, all you need to do is click once on the gradient bar and change the color from the main color box. At the moment, gradient is set to liner. We can change it to radial. And below we can play with the angle and with the aspect ratio. Or use the gradient tool to do it manually. To draw the basic shape, we do not need any fill. And to remove the color, we need to click on the third box. And now let's create a basic ghost shape. For the head, we will need to make the top corners rounded. First, make sure the object is unselected. Then with the direct selection tool, I will select the top corners. And we will see 2 tiny circles on each corner. I want you to grab one of the circles and drag it down. If you hold Alt and click once into the circles, you will create inverted rounded corners. And if you click again, you will create chamfer corners. Since we need the corners to be rounded, click one more time. So now we will need the bottom part to be curvy so it can look like a ghost shape. First, we will need to separate the bottom line so we can apply a zigzag effect. With the direct selection tool, select only the 2 anchor points who are holding the bottom line. Then go to Controls and click on the scissors icon. Now the bottom line is separated. With the bottom line selected, go to FX, Distort and Transform, and select Zigzag. Click on the preview box so we can see what we are doing. Let's set the line to smooth. Here we can add number of curves. And we can also play with the depth of the curves. Feel free to play around. But for this cluster, I suggest you choose an odd number on ridges per segment. Then when you're done, press OK. If you'd like to edit the effect, you need to go to Windows and open the appearance bar. Then click on the zigzag. Put the appearance bar below the swatches. Now we will need to join the object with the rest of the shape. And to do that we must expand the effect. Go to Object and select Expand Appearance. When the effect is expanded, it is no longer editable. Before we join the lines with the selection tool, move the curvy line a bit further, so our ghost can be longer. Then with the direct selection tool, click on the unconnected anchor points on the curvy line. Hold Shift and also click on the unconnected anchor point on the top shape. Then right click and select Join. Do this on the other side as well. Now if you like the ghost to be shorter or longer, don't scale it with the selection tool, because the curved lines will look messed up. To scale it and keep those curved lines the same, with the direct selection tool we will need to select the top rounded corners and the straight lines. Then grab one of the anchor points and with holding Shift, drag up or down. Let's align it. Whoops! Make sure to unselect the anchor points, then select it with the selection tool so you can align it. Now let's add some color on our ghost and remove that stroke line. I will choose a color from the swatches. And to start editing the stroke, you must click on it, or hit X on the keyboard to do the switch. Since now the stroke is on top of the fill box, we can click on the None icon so we can remove it. If a color bar appeared to your screen as well, just place it below the appearance bar. For our ghost we will create only one big eye. Go to the rectangle tool, click and hold, then choose the ellipse. Draw the ellipse with holding Shift so you can create that perfect circle. Then align it. Let's make the eye color white. Instead of using the swatches or selecting a color manual, we can just copy the background color with the Eyedropper tool. You can find this tool on the toolbar or use the shortcut I on the keyboard. Make sure the object is selected and just click on the background color. Now let's create the eye pupil. To do that we can just copy the eyeball and make it smaller. And for creating a copy there are two options. Option 1. Select the object, drag it with holding Alt and let go the left click. Option 2. Make sure the object is selected, then hit Ctrl+C on the keyboard. And to paste it randomly, hit Ctrl+V. If you like to paste it back of the current object, you will need to hit Ctrl+B. But in this case, we will need to paste it front of the current object. And to do that, we will need to paste it with Ctrl+F. Since now the copy is front of the current object, let's scale it with holding Shift+Alt. Now let's change the color of the eye pupil. For aesthetic reasons, I won't use solely black color. I will just copy the ghost color with the eyedropper. Then I will go to the color box and change the color to a bit darker. Now we can put high glass on the eye pupil so it can look cuter. Copy the eye pupil with holding Alt and drag it a bit. Now with the copy we will cut the eye pupil using Pathfinder. To open the Pathfinder, go to Windows and select Pathfinder. And to use the Pathfinder, we will need to select both objects. Hold Shift and select the other one. If we hit Unite on the Pathfinder, the two objects will merge. If we click on the minus front, with the top object, we will cut the object below. And if we hit Intersect, Illustrator gets rid of everything except the two parts which are overlapping. But in this case we will need to cut the eye pupil using the minus front. Let's put the Pathfinder bar on the top of the gradient and remove the bars who are in the Pathfinder. And now we will put a big smile on our ghost. Open a rectangle and align it. Then with the selection tool, double left click on the rectangle so we can isolate it. We are doing this so the other object can get in our way when we try to select the corners. Now with the direct selection tool, make the top corners a bit rounded, and for the bottom corners, make them fully rounded. Always when you create rounded corners, make sure you hit Unite on the pathfinder. Let me show you what will happen if you do not do this. Try scaling them down and scaling them up again, and you will see the rounded edges are starting to get back to the original position. But if you hit Unite on the pathfinder, it will expand the rounded effect, and the rounded corners won't change when they are scaled. Alright, now let's put some teeth. Select the mouth and go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and set it to -10. Let's paint the offset path red so we can see better what we are doing. Open an ellipse and place it in the middle of the top line of the offset path. With holding Shift and Alt, drag it to make a copy, and make sure they touch a bit. Now hit Ctrl+D 3 times so we can copy them in the same order. Select all circles we created and hit Unite on the pathfinder. Then align them to the center. Now select the circles, hold Shift, and also select the red offset path. Then press Intersect on the pathfinder. Let's make the teeth white. Copy the eyeball color with using the Eyedropper tool. Now we will draw a tongue to fill up that empty space. For the mouth, we will need to use the offset path again. Offset path is one of the options we will be using most of the time, and it does not have a shortcut, so let's add one. Go to Edit and select Keyboard Shortcuts. Change the tools to Menu Commands, and on the search box type offset path. Then click on the shortcut field and set it to be Ctrl+Q. You will get a warning message saying that shortcut is for exiting Illustrator. But for me, Alt+F4 is a global shortcut for exiting everything. So just press OK. Now we will need to name our caseset. I will just type my name. With the mouth selected, let's open the offset path with our new shortcut, Ctrl+Q. Leave it to -10 and press OK. Now create an ellipse, then copy it with holding Alt and dragging. Select both and hit Unite on the pathfinder. Then align the object. Select the tongue and the offset path. Then hit Intersect on the pathfinder. And for the tongue, I will use red color from the swatches. To leave the isolate mode, you need to click on the top left arrow next to the toolbar, or just press Escape on the keyboard. And now let's put scary hands on our ghost. For the hands, let's open Iris Angle. And also make one more small one for the finger. Place the finger on top of the hand. Then with the selection tool, drag it down with holding Shift plus Alt, so we can make a copy. Now we need the middle finger. To make a correct spacing between the two fingers, we must use the Blend tool. You can find this tool next to the Eyedropper tool. Now click twice on the Blend tool, then select specific steps. Since we need only one finger, set it to 1 and press OK. Now with the Blend tool selected, click on the top and the bottom finger. Then go to Object and select Expand. Make sure the object and fill are selected and press OK. Now right click and ungroup the fingers. Copy one of the fingers so we can use it as a thumb. Select the hand and hit Unite on the pathfinder. And now let's make this hand curvier. With the hand selected, go to Effects, Wrap and choose Arch. Make sure it is set to horizontal. The bend should be around 50% and the distortion horizontal minus 50%, but feel free to play with it. Press OK when you are done and expand the effect. Now let's make the fingers rounded. To make it round between the fingers, with the direct selection tool, select one corner, hold shift and select the other corner, then make it rounded. Do this on all fingers. Let's rotate the hand and we will need to place it behind the ghost. And I will show you 3 options how to do this. Option 1. Go to Windows and select Layers. Find the layer hand and drag it way below. And place the layer bar below the rest of the bars. Option 2. Right click on the hand, go to Arrange and send to back. Or click Ctrl Shift plus left bracket on the keyboard. And if you want to arrange it front, Ctrl Shift plus right bracket. And my favorite option is copying the hand using Ctrl plus C and delete it. Then select the ghost shape and paste it back using Ctrl plus B. This copy and pasting may be confusing at the beginning. All it needs little practice so you can get the hang of it. Now copy the hand with dragging, holding Alt plus Shift. Let's reflect the hand. To do that, hit O on the keyboard, hold Shift, grab the top of the hand and drag it from right to left. Another way to reflect it is by going to Object, Transform and select Reflect. Now let's switch to the selection tool so we can group the hands. Select both hands, right click and hit Group. Or just use Ctrl plus G on the keyboard and align them. Now let's make the ghost pretty looking with adding some shadows and highlights. Let's start with the mouth. We will just copy the mouth using Ctrl plus C, then paste it with Ctrl plus B. Now scale the copy with holding Shift. And copy the ghost color using the Eyedropper tool. Change their color to a bit darker. For the tongue, let's copy it with Ctrl plus C and hit Ctrl plus F twice so we can create 2 copies. The first copy is the shadow and the second copy is for cutting the shadow. Before I cut it, I will paint the shadow a bit darker so you can see better what I'm doing. Just place the cutting edge where it fits the best for you. Then select both and cut it with the minus front on the pathfinder. Since for the teeth we only need straight shadow, we can just create only 1 copy. Hit Ctrl plus C, then Ctrl plus F to paste it front. Now just open a rectangle where you want the shadow to be. Select the rectangle and the copy, then cut it with the minus front. For this shadow, let's use a grey color from the swatches. And for the eye, let's do the same thing we did for the mouth. Copy the eyeball and paste it back. Then scale the copy with holding Shift. Copy the same color from the mouth shadow using the Eyedropper tool. Let's also put an inner shadow on the eye. Copy the eye with Ctrl plus C, then paste it with Ctrl plus F and shrink it with holding Shift. Now select the original eye and copy the color from the teeth shadow. For the hands, we will create highlights. First, let's ungroup the hands. Otherwise, the pathfinder won't work. Right click and select ungroup. Now select only the left hand. Make 2 copies of the hand and paste it front. Then drag the copy on the left, select both and cut it with the minus front. Paint the highlights a bit lighter. Do this to the other hand as well. Let's do the same process for the body. Copy and paste it twice. Now drag the cutting copy down. Select both copies and hit the minus front. Copy the same color of the hand highlight. Select the hairs and let's open the offset path with Ctrl+Q. Leave it to -10 and press OK. Now select the original hairs and copy the highlights color. Alright, we are done with the character. Now let's group it. You can select it with the mouse or hit Ctrl+A on the keyboard so you can select everything from the artboard. Then to group every layer, hit Ctrl+G. Now we can name the grouped layer so we can keep it well organized. Click twice on the layer picture, name it and press OK. Let's scale it down so we can put some room for the background and the text. Don't forget to hold Shift when you're scaling so you can keep the original shape. Now we can start adding backgrounds. Open an ellipse with holding Shift and Alt. Right click on the ellipse, select Arrange, then Send to Back and copy the tone color with the Eyedropper tool. For the main background, let's draw a rectangle all over the artboard. Then send it to back. But this time use the shortcut Ctrl Shift plus left bracket. It's very important at the beginning to learn to use shortcuts. It will make your job a lot easier. Now for the main background, let's copy the eye color. We will lock the main background layer so it won't interfere with our work. Go to the layer bar, find the background layer and check the field next to the eye icon. Or you can use the shortcut Ctrl+2 to lock the layer. Now I will show you how to add text. You can select the type tool on the toolbar or use the shortcut T on the keyboard. Click on the artboard below the ghost and start typing. After you're done typing, switch on the selection tool. Now on the action bar you will see a couple of text editing bars. Here you can choose a paragraph alignment. And if you click on the paragraph text, more options will show up. Let's set the paragraph alignment to the center. And also align the text to the center of the artboard. Here we can make the text bigger. There is no bigger number than 72 points, but we can write a manual number into the size field. You can also scale the text by using the selection tool. As you can see, I typed the text in a lowercase, but now I want to be in uppercase. Instead of retyping in uppercase, you can just go to Type, change case, and select uppercase. To change the font, click on the arrow next to the character field. And to add fonts in Adobe Illustrator, there are two options. Option 1. Install the font on your PS. Give it a few seconds to appear in Adobe Illustrator. Then type the font you install on the character field. If you install a bunch of fonts on your PS, it will be very hard to choose one from your bunch. You must scroll every font till you find the best one for your design. Plus, if you have installed a lot of fonts, your PS may start lagging. And option 2, which I strongly prefer, is using font management software. I added one into the tutorial folder. Open the font base folder and install the software. Once you install the software, launch it. I chose font base because of the clean interface and it's very easy to use it. When you get deep into designing, I suggest you subscribe on this software. It's really awesome and it only costs $3 monthly. But at the moment we can use the free version. So let's close the app by hitting on the X. And I will show you how this software works. To use fonts, you do not have to install any of them. We can just drag font folder into the software and activate the font we need. You will also find a monster font collection into the tutorial folder. Drag the monster font folder into the software. Click on the monster fonts, and on the bottom of the interface, you can type the same text you will use in your design. Here on the top we can make the fonts larger so we can see better. And now we can search for the best font for our design. I like the Kaju font. And I will press on the circle of the top of the font so I can activate it. Now go to Adobe Illustrator. Type the font you activated and select it. Now let's write a tagline below the main text. With the direct selection tool, drag the main text with holding Alt plus Shift. Click on it, hit Ctrl plus A to select all of the text and retype it. Make the font size smaller. Since we made the tagline a lot smaller, we need to use a cleaner font. Go to font base, search for the Bebas font and make it active. Switch to Adobe Illustrator and change the tagline font into the Bebas font. With the tagline selected, click on the character text on the action bar. And here we can increase the spacing between the letters. For the tagline, let's use the main ghost color. And for the main text, copy the gray color from the eyeshadow. Let's also put one more tagline around the circle on the ghost. With the selection tool, double click on the circle so we can isolate it. Copy the circle and paste it front. With holding Shift plus Alt, scale the copy a bit bigger. Now go to the Type tool, click and hold, then select Type on a Path tool. Click on the end of the circle and start typing. Let's use the same font style from the tagline. The Eyedropper tool, it does not copy just a color. You can also copy a font style as well. Switch with the selection tool so we can select the upper tagline. Then with the Eyedropper tool, copy the tagline below the ghost. As you can see, it copied the color, the font size, the paragraph alignment and the spacing. Now let's rotate the font on top of the ghost. and change the color to white. We can also place the text below the circle. On the middle of the text, you will see a vertical line. With the selection tool, pull down the line and place it inside the circle. But for our design, we need the text to be on top of the ghost. So with Ctrl+Z, get back to the original position. Now let's press Escape to leave the isolate mode. Alright, now we got a character logo design. Now I will show you how to save and prepare this logo for client use. Before we save the file, there are 3 more things we need to do. The first thing is expanding the text. Select the tagline and the main text. Then go to Object and hit Expand. For the tagline around the ghost, first we need to hit Expand Appearance. Then go one more time and hit Expand. We are doing this so if someone opens the vector format, it won't have a problem with a font missing. Once the text is expanded, it will be displayed as an object and not as text. Now we can group the text and name the layer. The second thing we need to do is making sure the document is set in CMYK color mode. To do that, go to File, Document Color Mode, and make sure the CMYK is checked. Printers are using CMYK color mode, and electronic screens are using RGB color mode. Since the vector file will be used for printing, the document must be set to CMYK. And for the third thing is creating a logo version for a white background as well. If you do a logo design on a black background, there is a big chance the client will ask you to make one more version for white background as well. To do that, we will need to create one more artboard for the second version. First zoom out and make space for the second artboard. With the artboard tool on the toolbar, let's select the artboard. Now drag it with holding out so we can create a copy. Good thing we had the background locked and we avoid copying. For the white background, let's use dark text on the logo. Select the text and copy the color of the dark background. And for the tagline below, let's change it to green like it was. Since the text is grouped, we can use the direct selection tool to select the tagline. Then copy the green color from the ghost. Now we are ready to save the logo in vector format. Go to File, Save As, and save it to Adobe Illustrator AI. And hit OK. Let's save it again, but this time we will save it in a PDF format. When you save it in a PDF, make sure Preserve Illustrator Editing Capabilities is checked, and save the PDF. PDF is also a vector file, and this file can be viewed by the client without owning Adobe Illustrator. Now let's save the logo in a high resolution image. To do that, go to File, Export, Export As, and choose JPEG format. But before you hit save, make sure use artboard is checked, so it can create 2 JPEG from both artboards. Once use artboard is checked, hit export. Since the JPEG format will be used for screen view, change the CMYK to RGB. Increase the quality bar to the maximum and set the resolution to 300. Then press OK. Now let's create a transparent image from the 2 versions, and we will do one more from just the character. To prepare them for saving in transparent image, first we need to remove the background and shrink the artboard in the same size as the artwork. Now for the original version, let's remove the background. Go to the layer bar, unlock the background and delete it. Select everything from the artboard and group it. Now with the artboard tool, click twice fast on the grouped logo, so we can make the artboard size same as the logo size. Let's do the same thing on the white background version. First group everything from the artboard, and with the artboard tool, click twice fast on the grouped logo. And now let's do one more separate artboard just for the character. First ungroup the logo, unselect everything, then select the character. Drag the character outside of the artboard with holding Alt so we can create a copy. Now with the artboard tool, click once on the character, wait for a second and click one more time. Now we created a different artboard just for the character. Since everything is ready, let's save them in transparent images. Go to File, Export, Export As, and select PNG format. Make sure use artboard is selected and hit Export. And set the resolution to 300, then press OK. Now we are finished with the basic tutorials and this won't be the end. Learning Adobe Illustrator is just the first step. The next tutorials won't be just about designing. I will also show you how to set up your portfolio, social media marketing, how to get clients and how to work with clients, earning from stock art and much more. So stay tuned guys, and I wish you happy designing. Cheers!